Hey, Gono Singh Karate family, it is Renshi, or should I say it's Renshi from Gono Singh Karate if you're watching this. And I am interviewing a past student, and his name is Ari Brandsdorfer, and he was with us, I believe, in 1994 when he was 6 years old. Am I correct, Ari?
I think so. I might have even been younger, but around then.
All right. So let's use this as a platform to do a time machine trip back 25 years or 24 years and see exactly what it is that happened from a student's perspective, from a 6-year or younger student, and what made you stay with it, what made you continue. And you did get your black belt, and I'm super excited to hear about what you've been doing with the knowledge that you've gained from Gono-sen.
Yeah. So I think just like reversing time, kind of why did we as a family even join Gono-sen? I was thinking about this today, and I remember that I had gone to like a birthday party, and you were there doing a demonstration, and I thought it was very cool. But then there was a point in time where you took some boards and you lit them on fire, and then you punched through them. And to like a 5-year-old, that was very scary. And I thought you burned your hand. I ran over to my mom crying, and later you came over and you showed me your hand, and I was like, oh, okay, so like he's a superhero. So like I should probably learn karate from a superhero. But obviously my dad had done more research and knew that, Gono-sen was a good, solid, karate dojo for technique. And so that's where we started.
And you did it with your brother,
Yep.
Scott, who was a few years older than you too, I correct?
Yep.
And so take us through that time, because how long did it take you to get your black belt? I believe.
Yeah, I remember.
8 years?
I think it took 10 years, actually. I remember, but being very proud of that fact, because, when you're growing up and you're doing karate, obviously, like, the benefits of doing it is kind of having self-defense in your muscle memory. But then on top of that, just kind of climbing the ladder and kind of, having a goal to reach, yellow belt, orange belt, blue belt, kind of just moving up the ladder. But then, yeah, I think it took me a decade to make it to black belt, and Scott as well.
Yeah. Pretty impressive to have all 3 family members make it to black belt,
We were pretty happy with ourselves.
Yeah. And were there any times that you wanted to quit before you made it to black belt?
I not necessarily quit, but just, it's a hard process, and you're watching your friends who are taking Taekwondo or going to another dojo, and they're black belt in 2.5 years, and, you're still a blue belt. But I think, when you get a black belt from Gono-sen, it really means something. Like you really worked hard to achieve that. So I always knew I wanted to achieve that in my life, so that made me stick with it.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that, because a lot of times, and maybe back then it was 10 years, and then we reduced it to 8 years because it's a long time. And now it's anywhere from 6 to 8 years, depending on your age. But, it is an endeavor. And, a lot of times there has to be maturity that happens in my idea of a black belt. And sometimes when you get a black belt, what do? You quit anyway, right? So we want to make sure that somebody who earns something feels really proud of it and then moves up the ranks to the degrees of black belt. But, if somebody gets it within a few short years, then they're stopping, moving on to the next thing, and they really haven't not mastered it, but really understood it as much as you did, or as long as somebody who's done martial arts for the length that you've done, to gain the knowledge and the benefits beyond just the punching and kicking.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, why I wanted to talk to you next, because I believe you left when you went off to college.
Yeah, around then.
And so take me from your college years through your, I guess you're now married, which is great, and your schooling, college, and then your career.
Yeah, so I went to Muhlenberg College down in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Majored in biology, and then I moved on to Jefferson Medical School in Philadelphia. Did my 4 years there. Kind of figured out that I wanted to be an ophthalmologist, an eye doctor. So applied for that. Spent 1 year up in at UConn doing internal medicine, which is required before you go on to ophthalmology, where I did a 3 year residency at Albert Einstein in the Bronx. And then I wanted a little extra training, went for 1 more year of training in cornea at University of Michigan last year. And now I'm here back in Connecticut, about to kind of open with a group.
That's cool. So you really wanted to make sure that your craft was crafted.
Yeah, kind of to the end.
Yeah, which is good, which is cool. Now, did you use any of the things that you've learned as a martial artist that we taught you? And I'm not talking about punching and kicking, although somebody might have attacked you in your life and hopefully you were able to protect yourself. But, you know, whether it be physically, mental, or emotional, social, any of those, did you, can
Yeah,
you
yeah.
share us?
I mean, I think looking back on it, kind of reflecting, the biggest thing is just, you know, learning self-control at such a young age, you know, where like every action has kind of a consequence, you know, like when you say for us to stand at attention, you know, you stand stiff as a board, straight as an arrow, you do not move. If you move, there are consequences. And you have the choice over your body as a young kid, whether you want to scratch your nose or whether you want to kind of follow what's being asked of you. And so I think, you know, just learning that discipline of like, no, I'm in control of my body and I'm in control of kind of the consequences of my action, learning that from, you know, 6 years old and on. I mean, I think it very much helped me in terms of, you know, just being able to discipline myself to sit down and study when maybe other people were not, because I knew my actions had consequences. And then, you know, I always think that whenever your activity is like the act of movement, having control over your body and knowing that your body is going to do what you want it to do is very helpful. And especially in surgery, I mean, I know that, you know, while I had to learn a new physical, you know, kind of set of moves, I had learned a whole set of movement when I was a kid. You know, it wasn't so different to kind of apply how I learned karate to how I learned how to do surgery. So overall, thought it was very helpful.
That's really cool to hear. Like you took the knowledge and you transferred into another field.
Yeah.
And you know, and I tell people all the time, it's really not about the punching and kicking. It's about what you get when you do your punching and kicking, or lack of, or trying to craft it into a better set of moves, or experience things from different perspectives. And it's funny because now I don't know, did you ever see the Karate Kid movie?
Parts of it.
So the original one back in 1984, and I remember it because that's when I got involved in the martial arts, and that was a big driving force with Daniel-san learning how to do karate and protect himself from bullies. Because my story was the Karate Kid. I was picked on, I was beat on, I was bullied. So I needed to find my Mr. Miyagi to practice and learn that. And it's interesting because watching that movie, I was able to get all the excitement of being able to stand up for yourself. But now they have the series Cobra Kai, which is Daniel-san and his nemesis Johnny grown up, and now they're teachers. So they're martial arts senseis. And so they go from student to teacher, and it kind of mimics my life because I was a student and now I'm a teacher, right? And I look at it from so many different perspectives, and that's what I try to share with the students is the things that you learn you're going to be able to see it from so many different perspectives, and it's not only about the physical moves.
Yeah, absolutely. And just thinking more on kind of like benefits is, I remember when when you're in middle school, you kind of always eat lunch with your class, right? Sixth, seventh grade, eighth grade, you're always eating with your class. But then you get to high school and everybody kind of disperses and you're kind of, no longer with just your class. And I know that the people that I was sitting with in high school were the Gono-Sen people, Kevin, Patty, Lauren, Tom, so there are like these hidden benefits to being in karate that like I would never have known as a 6-year-old, and I would have never benefited from if I hadn't continued on. But it's nice to be in high school and to be able to walk into a lunchroom and always have a place to sit. So
yeah, it's cool. And those people, are out there. I know Thomas is a school teacher at HUD. He's I think he's a math teacher, yeah. And Lauren is works on movies and Broadway and things like that. So it's really excites me to see that you guys, and now to call you doctor is just amazing. It's just such a great thing. I love having this talk with you. I love that you are a part of our family and that we were a part of yours. And I'm so blessed to see how well you turned out, and I'm looking forward to one day you having your child do martial arts. And that would be a real cool thing, because I mean, you're in Connecticut, so it's kind of hard to bring them to us, but it's interesting because we have students that used to be students and now they have their children coming, and it's like the next dimension.
Nice.
So all right, well, this was a great talk. Is there anything you would like to leave us with?
Just overall, I've never regretted doing karate. I've always felt like it was a benefit in my life. I think even nowadays, I still kind of look back on how I navigate through the world, and I realize that, the lens of Gono-Sen is always kind of there. So always a benefit.
So what would you say to a parent who hears these magic words from their kid, I want to quit?
I'm not sure. I'm not a parent. I guess getting to know why your child wants to quit is always a good idea. But I think that when you're a kid, you just don't know all of the benefits and all of the consequences of your actions. And so, having your child kind of see this process through, from my perspective, was a big benefit. So, if they're saying they want to quit or stop, maybe, see if you can talk to them to see if they can ultimately achieve the kind of social benefits, the physical benefits, the mental benefits of karate, because there were a lot.
Well said. Yeah. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And, and normally when I've seen kids come back after they've stopped or quit, they usually say it was the worst decision that they ever made. So, or it was, they pin it on their parent. I wish my mom never took me out, So, well, this was really fun. Thank you for your time, and be well. Keep in touch.
Will do.